All right, well, you joined us on it's not a typical class. Today we're playing a little bit of catch up. There were a lot of issues in the last couple writing assignments, and that's kind of what we're going to go over. And I'm not sure if we're going to get to a new prompt. Usually always we have a writing task, but today we got to focus a little bit on development issues and grammar. So I'm just going to share my screen so we can get started. Okay, so the prompt we were dealing with was about animals. Many animals have become nearly extinct as a result of deforestation and urban development, as well as hunting them for decorative purposes, exotic food, and traditional medicine. Is it important to protect animals? What solutions are there to this problem? So this is known as a double question. First question is it important to protect animals? Second is, what solutions are there to this problem? So we're not going to assign this one today. This was assigned last week, and we were going to correct it on Saturday, but a lot of people didn't show up, so we're going to work on this today. So it's these kinds of development issues that are going to get you in trouble, and sometimes they are difficult to detect, especially when you're writing. And the only way to avoid this kind of problem is to start with an outline. You have to do your outline, and before you start turning your outline into paragraphs, you have to compare it to the prompt and make sure that it is 100% related to the prompt. So this paragraph is, maintaining the ecosystem balance is the most important reason to protect animals. So this is an answer to this question. Is it important to protect animals? So why? To maintain the ecosystem balance. Each animal contributes to preserving the ecosystem's balance. However, humans have been using animals and destroying their habitat. As a result, several animal species have disappeared or extinct. Sharks, for example, is an important animal because they control the population of marine species lower down on the food chain. So far, so good. You've got a good reason for why it's important to protect sharks. Very good example. And this is where we go off the rails. Unfortunately, this animal has disappeared in some areas. In my hometown, Brazil, a port was constructed close to sharks' areas, which caused the sharks to move close to seaboards. Consequently, it resulted in sharks human attacked at the beach. So the population has been hunting the sharks in that area, although human is responsible for this situation. So when you look at the prompt, is it important to protect animals? Is the highlighted part an answer to that question?
So the first part, Jan, this is Kelly.
Hi.
Hi. I think the first part is actually answering the important to protect animals.
Yep.
And it also gives you a little bit of explanation. The second part, which is the solution, I haven't read it yet. So,
right, so this is not the solutions paragraph. This person had was this yours? Because the person who wrote this, they had another solutions paragraph.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this explains why.
This is the cause.
Exactly. But in this question, it doesn't ask you about the cause.
Yes.
So if you write anything that's not a direct response to the question, it's considered off topic. And you will not get band 7 on task achievement. Is anyone here not familiar with the rubric?
Sorry, say again?
Is anyone here not familiar with the rubric? Does everyone know what I mean when I say rubric?
No.
Rubric is the marking criteria that we use in schools. If you've got kids in public schools in Ontario, teachers for summative assignments have to give your students a rubric, and a rubric lists all the criteria that are being used to assess your child's work. IELTS also uses a rubric. It's, my opinion, excellent rubric. And I'm just going to post it right here so we can have a look at what is in it. Okay, so this is just a random one here, but let's see if this comes up. Okay. Okay, so this is a rubric I just took out of someone's assignment, so don't worry about the stuff that's already marked up. So the IELTS rubric is divided into 4 categories. This is the writing rubric. This is for task 2. The task 1 is a little bit different, but again, very similar. First category is task achievement. Task achievement means how well you answer the question. Is it a precise answer and is it developed? So if you look at the Band 8 criteria, it says presents well-developed response with relevant, extended, supported ideas. Okay, if you want Band 8, that's what you need. But they have to be on topic. They have to be 100% related to the prompt. Band 7 presents a clear position throughout. That means if I look at any part of your essay, any paragraph, I need to know what your position is on the question they've asked you. Keep in mind though, for Band 7, you can still overgeneralize. Supporting ideas may lack focus. That doesn't mean they're off topic, it just means they lack detail or they're a bit vague. But when you get down to Band 6, you've got inadequately developed or unclear ideas. And this is where some people are shooting themselves in the foot. Because if you start an idea and it's unclear and you leave the reader basically scratching their head going, what did she try and say? I'm not sure where this thought is going. Then you're at a Band 6. So you can actually create more problems for yourself by adding more, but then not completing your thoughts. This is why the editing process is so important. We do this slowly when we're doing high school or college or university essays, but here you don't have an opportunity to do this slowly, you have to do it quickly. But it's critical, first of all, that you do an outline in point form before you start writing the full version. You got to look at your point form outline, and it's small. It has to be really small so that you can take in all of the ideas at a glance, compare them to the prompt, and ask yourself, is everything in my outline 100% related to the prompt, or is it kind of related? Kind of related is no good. And then at the end, you need to give yourself 5 minutes to read your work out loud. And again, as you're reading it, keep asking yourself, how is this related to the prompt? Do I need to clarify any of this stuff? Do I need to get rid of it? Sometimes you can produce more effective work by saying less. If you just delete some ideas that kind of go nowhere, you can have a better response. Band 5 is where you get into stuff like this. Addresses task only partially or inappropriate format. So for example, in this question, if you only answered one of these, if you answered, is it important to protect animals? And then your second paragraph, instead of being about solutions, was about causes, and you spent that whole paragraph talking about causes, you'd get a Band 5. Even if it's beautiful, perfect English, you're still going to get a 5 on task achievement. And this is where all the conspiracies about IELTS come from. Some of you have heard me say this before, others have not. I read this website Quora all the time. It's a really lots of fun, super interesting. People post questions, other people post answers, super fascinating website. And there's this whole like this whole kind of sub-community of people who talk about IELTS, and a lot of them, the anger just comes through so strongly through what they say, and they're like, man, I finished 2 master's degrees in an English-speaking university, and then I took IELTS and I got 6.5 on it, and those bastards at IELTS, they're just taking our money, there's no way to get 7, it's a conspiracy against fill in the blank type of people. And I can tell from the writing that these people are actually very good writers. In terms of grammar, in terms of vocab, excellent work. It's at least band 7. They're for sure fluent English users. But if you go in there, and even if your grammar and vocab are perfect and your writing is a little bit off topic, you're not getting band 7 on task achievement. It's just not happening.
So I have a question. So like the mark will be like depends on task achievement, like mostly?
No, it's 25% for each of these.
Oh.
Each of these is 25%. Now, here's the thing that most people don't know about IELTS. And this is the one area of IELTS where what they're doing comes across as a bit shady. Now, when you're getting your overall IELTS score, they use normal mathematics for calculating your average. Okay? Normal math, if you get like 0.5 or higher, it's rounded up. Everyone's familiar with rounding?
Yes.
Okay. But on writing and on speaking, when they're calculating your score based on these 4 categories, they round down.
So each one of them is 25%.
Yes. So in the normal world, if you got 7, 7, 7, and 6, what would your score be?
6.7?
6.75, right?
Yeah.
And what would 6.75 be rounded to?
7.
7.
Six.
But on IELTS, if you get 7, 7, 7, and 6, what score are you going to get?
6.5.
You're going to get 6.5. So they round down, which is against the rules of mathematics, but that's how you get your speaking and your writing score. And they don't advertise this. Okay.
Okay.
I suspect there's 2 reasons for this. There's the conspiracy reason, and then there's the practical reason. Conspiracy reason is that makes it really hard to get band 7. Because getting an 8 on task achievement, like if you're consistently getting 6 on grammar, you would need to get an 8 on task achievement to balance that out. But getting 8 on task achievement is really rare. It's very unusual. Like maybe 1 person in 20 gets an 8 on task achievement. So getting a band 7 is really hard. It's marked hard because band 7 is the cutoff. It represents advanced level English. Band 6 is intermediate. Band 7 is advanced. And what you'll notice is, look at band 6 here. Errors in spelling or word formation don't impede communication. Okay, so already you can make mistakes in word choice. And if they're not too bad and I still know what you're talking about and there's not too many of them, you're getting a 6. If you make a whole bunch of grammar mistakes and they only sometimes confuse the reader, you're getting a band 6. And that's rarely, right? The flip side of rarely is sometimes.
Yeah.
But here, band 7, good control of grammar and punctuation, but may make a few errors. Notice that where it says make a few errors doesn't include anything about confusion. So if any of these errors cause any kind of confusion for the examiner, it's a 6. Right? That's what makes this so hard. You can have a few mistakes, but they can't cause confusion, and you need a lot of error-free sentences. Error-free sentences means no problems with verb tenses, no problems with articles. So if you're constantly having problems with the, or no article, it's going to reduce your chances of getting a 7. Okay, it has to be error-free. They take
Okay.
that literally. This rubric, this kind of document is called a rubric. This is basically a legal document between you and the examiner, and also between the examiner and IELTS, the organization, or IDP, or British Council, or whoever they work for. So even if they think your writing is good, but you got a whole bunch of article mistakes, they're like, eh, those article mistakes don't impede communication. But if you make a whole bunch of them, you're not going to have enough error-free sentences. And the examiner has no choice but to give you a 6. It's automatic.
John, can you explain? No, can you spell rubric?
R-U-B-R-I-C.
Yeah. R-U-B-I-R-C. Okay. Thank you.
In school, your kids will also talk about success criteria. So rubric is the thing, and all these descriptions in here are the success criteria. These are the criteria that we look at before assigning a specific band.
Okay.
Right, so is this clear? Is it clear why this is a problem?
It's clear.
Okay. Now let's look at this one. In order to preserve animals, this is from a different writer, governments need to pass legislation to stop human activities which have a negative impact on them. Okay. First, initiating people awareness campaigns is to inform them about the importance of animals to our life, and this could be done through social media, newspapers, or seminars. Okay. On top of that, prohibiting illegal hunting around the world is an urgent matter because in many countries there are no rules or regulations which hunters are aware of, so they practice this hobby to enjoy, earn money, or eat. China's government passed a law in 2009 showing that poaching is banned, which has led to save many species in their nation. This policy should become an international law because it will protect many vulnerable species. So this one is problematic from a coherence cohesion point of view. Coherence cohesion, another 25%, refers to the flow of ideas and the correct use of transitions and referencing. Okay. So when they say things like clear progression throughout, clear progression means it's totally clear how the sentences flow one after another. So yeah, I see how this sentence is related to the previous sentence. To catch these kinds of mistakes, we talk about the so what test. When students are at the editing stage, I have them at the end of every sentence ask themselves, so what? And so what means, like, I'm not saying so what in the rude way. Like if someone says something that you don't care about and you say, so what? Okay, that's not how we're using it. So what means, what does that lead to? Or why is that important? So at the end of each sentence, you ask yourself, so what? the next sentence has to answer so what. If it doesn't, you're missing something. So that's clear progression throughout. Each paragraph has a clear central topic. Now, where do I expect to find what the topic of a paragraph is? As a reader, where do I find out what the topic of your paragraph is?
Heading.
We don't have headings in the IELTS essay.
But in the question they have given you.
Yes, no, but I mean the paragraph that you write. So you write an essay in response to the prompt. Now for every body paragraph, where do I find out what the topic of that body paragraph is?
In the body of essay?
Sorry, say again, please.
On
The body of essay? Sorry.
No.
And
On the
the
first
thesis.
sentence?
The topic sentence.
The topic sentence. Your job as a writer is to make your ideas clear for the reader, and readers are easily confused even on a good day. Okay. So the paragraph structure I teach, it's super easy to remember the structure. The acronym is TREES. Topic sentence, reason, evidence, example, significance. You can follow this structure for the rest of your life for any kind of persuasive writing you do, and this will always work, 100%. The topic sentence tells the reader what to expect in that paragraph. Now remember, paragraphs, what is the purpose of a paragraph? A paragraph deals with a single controlling idea. If you've got more than one controlling idea, you need more than one paragraph. That's why we have paragraphs. It's to chunk information into manageable pieces. So we don't have like these crazy long paragraphs like you see in old English books. Nobody writes that way anymore. It's too many things to keep in mind, and the reader is confused, and you just have to keep rereading that paragraph until you finally figure out how everything sticks together. Look at magazines, look at newspapers, look at advertising copy. It's really short paragraphs. I mean, newspapers are pretty extreme. They have like 1 and 2 sentence paragraphs. We're not doing that. We're not doing a lot of that. We do that for the intro and the conclusion, but not for the body paragraphs. This is also why you are able to skim, to speed read. One of the most effective reading practices for reading comprehension is to skim the text first. Skimming means just very quickly read the topic sentences of all the body paragraphs. Now, why does that work? Because paragraphs are written in a very predictable style. I didn't come up with this just out of the blue. This is, I want to call it like an archetypal sentence structure. It includes all the elements that you'll find in a well-developed paragraph, and it doesn't mean that you always need all of them. But when you have them, it makes for a very strong paragraph, and they need to be in this order. So when the reader sees the topic sentence, they should know exactly what that topic is going to be about, that paragraph is going to be about. No surprises. So let's look at this paragraph again. In order to preserve animals, governments need to pass legislation to stop human activities which have a negative impact on them. Okay, that's our topic sentence. But then the first point is, initiating awareness campaigns is to inform people about the importance of animals to our life. Is this related to the topic sentence?
No.
No. This is prohibiting illegal hunting. This is related to it. Okay, so this paragraph would be much stronger if you just got rid of this. This is, when I said earlier, You can get into trouble by writing too much. This is an example of that. Sometimes you're better off just completely deleting something than you are leaving it in. Longer is not necessarily shorter. So that's part of coherence and cohesion. The other thing I want to draw your attention to, I'm going to go back up to the rubric here. They have this thing here called unclear inadequate referencing. Referencing refers to things like pronouns. When you say they, it, them, it has to be clear what that pronoun refers back to. So if we go down here, first, initiating people awareness campaigns is to inform them about the importance of animals to our life. Inform who? Okay, so
Inform people?
right, but this is a mistake because this is public awareness campaigns. We don't call them people awareness campaigns. Right, so initiating awareness campaigns is to inform people about the importance of animals to our life. That would be the right way to do it. Here, this them, it's not clear what it refers back to.
Mr. Riyad, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this essay, I wrote one of my body paragraphs example. It was like Americans government prohibited hunting, and you told me this is not true. Like it should be true when I for the examiner to read, or what? Like it should be a true data or a true if it is related to the topic and it's not true. So how is that?
That's an excellent question. What he's talking about is the fact that the prompt, let me go find another prompt here. The prompt always says, give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. This is not a suggestion, this is a requirement. You have to include examples. Now the problem is you don't have access to resources when you're writing the exam, right? You don't have your phone, you can't look things up on the internet. You can make things up. In fact, you have to make things up if you can't think of anything that's real. So we talk about including evidence, like last year, a research study conducted by the University of Toronto discovered that blah, 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 blah. For example, when my uncle worked at IBM, he blah, 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 blah. Make this stuff up, it's perfectly acceptable, but it can't be cuckoo crazy. Like I had one student who was talking about his, I think his neighbor who used to be the CEO of IBM. It's a little bit weird, right? And it can't be like clearly wrong. You can't make stuff up, like saying something, let's say you're writing an essay about terrorism and say, last year when the CN Tower fell down, blah, 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 blah. No, that didn't happen. You can't say that. So when you gave the example of, what did you say? It was hunting is banned in the United States?
Yes.
Everyone knows that hunting is not banned in the United States.
Yeah, I know that. Like even I know that. I know it's not prohibited, but like I didn't know that it should be like a true example or true fact.
You have to make up something that's more true than that, even if you don't know it's true. Like you could make up an example of a specific animal that that it's illegal to hunt. But don't make up something that everyone knows is not correct. And here,
Right.
just a minor point, China's government passed a law in 2009 showing that poaching is banned. So poaching means illegal hunting. So poaching, by definition, is illegal. So you can't say that poaching is banned. It doesn't make any sense. So this kind of stuff will get you into trouble, and it will hurt you on task achievement or coherence cohesion when referencing is unclear. Okay. Any questions about that? So this has to be on everyone's list of top things to watch out for, because it's a crazy way to lose marks. If you make a mistake once, let's say you talk about people plural at the beginning of your paragraph, and then you switch to saying he or she, and the reader doesn't know what he or she refers back to because you were talking about people in the plural earlier. You're going to get a 6. So you definitely need to watch out for referencing. Anytime you use words like they, them, he, she, it, make sure it's clear what they refer back to. Okay, and I believe, okay, here we go. So we talked about illegal poaching. So we'll move on to vocabulary, which is the next category. In terms of solutions, yep. Is there a question?
Yeah, you corrected the sentence with public awareness, then the them will go with the sentence. No. In the paragraph you have corrected it, it was a people awareness, you corrected it with a public awareness, and then at the end it was written them. So this,
Right,
is
so
it, this them will still come here or no?
well, it's not clear who it refers to.
No, like if you corrected it, like public awareness campaign is to inform them. Is
It's to
it correct
inform.
now or no?
No, it's no good. It has
Okay.
to be people.
Okay. People, okay.
Or I would say is to inform, is to inform people. That's kind of the only way you can do it right now.
Okay.
Is to inform the citizenry, the public, but you're already using public. Okay, so just a bit of vocab. In terms of solutions, the government needs to take action to address this issue by passing legislation and creating public awareness campaigns. So there are many actions the government can take, but in this expression, it's take action. Always, always, always. And legislation is non-count. This is a good phrase, pass legislation. It's a fancier way to say pass laws. Maintaining the ecosystem balance is the most important reason to protect animals. There's a couple ways to fix this. So maintaining ecosystem balance without the, it's a general concept. It's already specific enough. You don't need the in front of it. Or you can say maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. This is the other way to do it. Or if you're going to use possessive, it has to be the ecosystem's balance. So something, go ahead.
The most important reason usually we put with the reason for.
The most important reason for doing something. Okay, so if you're going to use this, and this comes up, this is a very useful phrase for anything dealing with the environment, animals, preserving the natural environment, maintaining ecosystem balance, maintaining the balance of the ecosystem, maintaining the ecosystem's apostrophe S balance. Those are the three ways to do it. Okay, these are also, these come up quite a bit. It's crucial to change versus it's crucial to changing. These mean different things. So we see here, is crucial to respond is crucial to responding quickly. Well, let's do a couple examples for this because it may be not so clear. What's the difference here between it's crucial to respond quickly or it's crucial to responding quickly?
Responding quickly.
What's the difference between these? Let me just improve this one. I'm going to change this to for paramedics.
Here they are saying that
the second sentence is okay. So I think the ing for responding is has no like time manner, and with good communication will be responding quickly. And the first one is crucial to respond quickly. Like there is no good communication.
Not exactly, and neither has anything to do with time. They're both in present simple. So present simple means time is not important. For general rules, yeah, go ahead.
So in they're saying that for the paramedics, it is really like difficult to respond quickly when there is emergency. Like when there's an emergency situation, because of the lack of resources, it is really difficult for them to respond quickly. Like there are many things they are facing at the time. That's why it is difficult to respond quickly. So it means like they can, but they are not. They cannot doing at that time. Like in time of the emergency, maybe they have lack of capacity and things like this, but they can do and they can do better. So, but at least they are doing well. This is this is the, I think this is the meaning of this sentence. And good communication is crucial to responding quickly when there is an emergency. Like good communication, responding quickly. I mean, when there is a good communication, the message is conveying, but someone is conveying the message, but it is not, the recipient is not getting the message.
Okay. You might be on the right track. I'm not too sure about the explanation though. I want to draw your attention to the subject. this is a dummy subject, right? Like it here doesn't mean anything. Like when you say it is sunny outside, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It is crucial to respond quickly. Right? It's important to respond quickly. This thing is important. It's kind of a subject that refers to itself. What is important, or rather, what is crucial? It is crucial to respond quickly. But this is a factor that's important for responding quickly.
John?
Does that make any sense? Have a look at the subjects here. I don't know if that helps you understand.
Good communication is the, like good communication is like important to respond quickly.
Yeah, it's an essential factor for a quick response. If you have poor communication, you can't respond quickly.
Oh.
But here,
Now I understand. Okay.
what's crucial when there's an emergency? It's crucial to respond quickly when there's an emergency.
It is important to okay.
It is important to do something.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I'm not sure who's asking. Go ahead.
Dina. So for the first sentence, we cannot say it's crucial to responding.
No.
No. So I think the difference here, where it is like the subject is dummy, we use this. Can we think it in this way? When it is the subject is not like clear, it is important to do something. While if the subject is here like is definite, what is it like? Good communication or factors? Factors is crucial to doing something. Important for.
John, sorry.
Sorry, because the important for, we know there is ing, no difference. If it is crucial, this is the problem when there is two. Because two, either infinitive or gerund.
But in the furthermore acknowledging there is no dummy. Why we use responding?
It is important too. Okay.
Well, let's come up with one or two more examples. I think cooking or baking might be good to create a contrast. Can anyone create two contrasting sentences? We can use crucial, we can use important. These are really, really common phrases that we use on a daily basis. I'm just completely making this up. I don't know if this is important. But it is important to beat the eggs thoroughly if you want the cake to rise properly. That sounds like it could be true, right? That's what I'm talking about, Allah. I don't think this is cuckoo crazy, but I'm still making it up. Okay, so let's make another sentence. Okay,
it's crucial to make an eye on oven temperature while cooking or baking.
Okay, so sorry, say again, please, the first part of this sentence.
It's crucial to make an eye on a temperature of the oven.
Okay, let me just simplify that. The right
yeah, the right temperature is crucial or important for baking.
The right temperature is important for baking. Yes, the right temperature is important for making a cake rise properly. But again, we've got this dummy structure. It is important to,
Okay.
and if you want to use the oven temperature, it is important to set the right temperature if you want the cake to
Yeah.
rise properly.
Yeah.
So maybe that's going to be our rule. It is important to, it is crucial to, it is critical to. Let's look at a couple more. Allowed for recovery, allowed to recover. The population of animals will be well protected and allowed to recover.
Jan, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I was listening and reading the two sentences. And I think the first one for paramedic is crucial to respond. It's referred to a react, and the second one like a respond. So in one you reacting, and the other one you responding. So in the first one, you actually respond to a fact that for paramedic, it's crucial to respond quickly when there is an emergency, only when there is an emergency. So that's a reaction or respond in this case. But for good communication, it's crucial to respond quickly. That will be a respond. So one is a reaction as in action, and the other one is a response.
That could be a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is more about grammar and about the order of the words.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I need to think about that one. I'd have to make a whole bunch more examples to see if that's related to it. I don't know if these examples help you construct some kind of rule. Let me just group these a little bit differently. I'm going to put these all together.
Yeah. In the last sentence, if you write like this, a good dictionary is critical to prepare for IELTS. Will it be correct?
A dictionary is critical to prepare for IELTS. A good dictionary is critical to prepare for IELTS. It's okay.
Because here, like, for preparing for IELTS, you're using 2 times, like repeatedly, for preparing for IELTS.
Yes. Yes, you're right. But the opposite here won't work. It's critical for studying every day.
Okay.
That's not going to work. Studying every day is critical to get a high score. Studying every day is critical. But if we do this, studying every day is important for getting a high score in IELTS. Studying every day is important to get a high score on IELTS.
Yeah, to get a high score on IELTS.
No. It is important to get a
This is like ongoing thing. It's crucial for getting a high score. No, it looks good.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Forgetting is going to work with all of them.
Yeah.
If you do it the other way, it might not work in some cases. So if in doubt, if you've got this construction where you've got the aspect or the factor first, and then you put is important, is crucial, is critical, and then you put for ing, you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like the opposites won't work either. It's critical for studying every day. No. If you want a high score on IELTS, that's no good. It's important to beating. It's important for beating the eggs thoroughly if you want the cake to rise. No, that's no good either. And here, if you change this to respond, that's no good in this case.
Yep.
This is what makes grammar a little bit messy, is that in some cases, I cannot give you a black and white rule that's going to work all the time. But if you use this as a general rule, it will work all the time. So it's not maybe 100% accurate if this is the rule, but if you follow this rule, it's going to be okay in every case. Whereas if you ignore the rule, it's not going to be okay in some cases. So we have these patterns. They're not exactly 100% rules, but they're good rules of thumb, like general rules for staying out of trouble. If I can think of any other examples, I'll put them down. Or if any of you come across good examples of this, please post them in the Q&A forum. If we have a whole bunch of examples like this, then it'll help us towards generalizing a good rule out of the examples. We've got another one like this. Increasing public awareness is equally important to fight this issue. No good. For fighting this issue. It's important to be environmentally friendly. Okay. How about this one? What goes here in the blank?
For environmentally friendly.
Or being.
Yeah. It's not the best sentence, but it's grammatically correct. To be is not going to work here.
To be.
Maybe this example won't work. And for being is not going to work here.
Yeah.
Memorize it like this. It's important to be, it's critical to be, it's crucial to be. So if we can come up with a very quick and dirty rule.
Or it is vital. Any word, maybe.
Okay. Any questions, comments, observations about this point? If you come across any good sentences, please post them in the Q&A forum if they're anything like this, either for being or to be with one of these words, important, crucial, critical, vital, and we'll continue the discussion in the forum. There was a question?
When we use it in the second tab, when followed by ing, all these four words, it will be followed by for. Is important for, is crucial for, critical for, vital for. Huh. For ing.
Thorough knowledge is important, is critical for being an effective doctor. Thorough knowledge of anatomy and physiology is critical for being an effective doctor.
Passing IELTS is crucial for practicing medicine in Canada.
Yep, there you
The
go.
spelling fact. Okay.
You know, it's important to make your own sentences that are personally relevant.
Yeah.
You're more likely to remember them. Right. So when there's an important grammar point and it's hard to remember, make your own sentence. And feel free to post those in the Q&A forum and ask if they're okay. Okay, I guarantee you other people will be interested in these examples. So please share. All right, so that is the first three categories. We talked about task achievement, coherence cohesion, lexical resource, which is a fancy word for vocab, and now let's move on to grammar. Grammar by far causes the most trouble. And in some cases, grammar and vocab are like this, and you can't really separate them. That's kind of the issue we had here. Okay, punctuation. In order to preserve animals, governments need to pass legislation to stop human activities which have a negative impact on them. Now, this is one of those situations where this comma really affects the meaning of the sentence. Can anyone explain to me why the comma in this case has such a big impact on this sentence?
Because if we put a comma, that's mean a relative clause, like explanation of
Has no subject?
No.
Let me get rid of the comma.
Because there are
Like a
two
which?
separate.
Which in the first sentences in A, which is like preferred to human activities.
The second sentence is complementing the first sentence. That's why comma is necessary.
I don't think anyone has
Answer.
quite explained it.
I think this impact is related on them, then this related to what?
Like a which is non, yeah, and we have to use that if we don't know which one.
Okay, so right here, we're talking about punctuation with relative clauses. Relative clauses, they're called relative because they're related. They're also called adjective clauses, and that's stuff like this. They start with which, who, that, whom, sometimes when, sometimes where. So in this example, the X501's some kind of gadget, which we bought last week, is broken already. What
like
is
extra
which?
information.
Yes, exactly. So which we bought last week is an extra
X501.
detail about the X501, precisely. In the second sentence, so here, this is called a non-defining relative clause. It's called non-defining In a lot of grammar books, it's also called non-restrictive.
Mhm.
It's called non-defining because we don't need this piece of information to understand what this is. So it's not necessary to understand what the subject is. The second example is called a defining or restrictive relative clause because without this piece of information, do we know what machine we're talking about?
No.
We have no idea. So this piece of information is critical for understanding what the subject is. In this case, for the defining or restrictive relative clause, you can use that and you can use which. Doesn't matter. In this case, do not use that. If in doubt, use which. But that's not the issue here.
The issue. Shall we put comma or not?
Exactly. So
If the extra information, we have to put a comma, but
Oh,
if,
we know. This is now the sentence. I think.
So the relative clause which have a negative impact on them. That's the relative clause. Now, what does the relative clause refer to? What is it related to?
animals.
No.
Human activities.
Relative clauses always refer back to the idea that's right before them. They have to refer back to the noun that's right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, they can refer to the whole sentence that's right before them, but mostly to the noun that's directly in front of them. So human activities which have a negative impact on them. If we get rid of this, which have a negative impact on them, governments need to pass legislation to stop human activities. What kind of human activities are we talking about? Are we talking about all human activities?
Hunting.
Sorry?
Hunting, to stop hunting.
Well, we're not talking about all human activities, right?
Yeah.
About the impact, negative effect.
Yes, we're talking specifically about human activities which have a negative impact on them. So should we have a comma or not?
No.
No.
No, because
No.
if you put the comma in, this becomes a non-defining relative clause. And if we delete it, governments need to pass legislation to stop human activities.
No complete like idea. Still
The
like
idea is not
something missing.
complete. Yeah, something is
Idea
missing.
is not complete.
Well, if you put this, then it means everything, right? It means anything that we do is bad for animals.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're talking on the phone. Nope, government needs to make that illegal because it's bad for animals.
So, Mr. Yan, like, just in case, if we write, what's your
To
idea?
stop
Shall
hunting.
we, in our mind, when we write sentence and we are doubting about the comma, so we think if we take it, this sentence out, is the idea is complete or not?
That might help you.
Might help us.
But this is not really a grammar issue so much as it is a syntax issue.
Yes.
It changes the meaning, right?
So if we replace human activities by hunting, will it be okay with full stop?
You could put need to pass legislation to stop hunting, comma, which has a negative impact on.
Yes.
Because let's explain it this way. This by itself is far too general, because that's not really what you mean. You're talking about a specific kind of human activity.
I think when we talk about something general, so this this clause will be more explanation, so no need to put comma. When we talk about something specific, in this point we need to put comma. This one refer like your example. If we're talking about the name of the machine, what you wrote down, yeah.
Yeah, because this is already specific. It's already a name.
So in this way, we need to put comma. If we talk about the machine in general, so no need to put comma.
Yep. Okay, we don't have too much. Okay. Run-on sentence. If I put ROS in your writing, it means it's a run-on sentence. Run-on sentence, it's often called a comma splice because that's the most common example of it. It looks something like this. I love curry. Some curry is too spicy for me. It's kind of a dumb sentence, but anyway, I love curry is a complete sentence. Some curry is too spicy for me. So both of these are complete sentences on their own. The rule is if you have two complete sentences, you can't separate them with a comma. Okay, so you have to use a word like but, or you have to put a period in here, or you can put a semicolon, however, comma, up to you. So 3 quick fixes. I love curry, but some curry is too spicy for me, period. Do a semicolon. We could transform one of them into a dependent clause. Now the comma is okay. Okay. So you've got 4 solutions for an ROS. You can transform it into a compound sentence. So you use one of these coordinating conjunctions, soyban. So, or, yet, but, and, nor. You can just put a period in there, chop it into 2 sentences. You can use a semicolon plus a conjunctive adverb. Or you can use a complex sentence. You can transform it into a complex sentence. Those are your 4 options. So we already talked about this. Maintaining the ecosystem balance. Maintaining the ecosystem's balance is the most important reason to protect animals. Each animal contributes to preserving the ecosystem's balance. However, humans have been using animals and destroying their habitats. As a result, several animal species have disappeared or extinct. How do you know it's a run-on sentence? Because after you do your writing, I'm going to indicate that it's a run-on, but it's more important for you to be able to catch these before I see them. Right? On the exam, how are you going to catch these run-ons? Because this is one of the killers. You do these, you're probably not getting a band 7. How do you catch this kind of issue?
Dot as a result.
Yes, but how do you catch this kind of issue? So that's I just gave us a perfectly straightforward solution. It works, but how do we avoid this?
I want to
By
say my
reading it
disbelief.
loud.
Reading.
That's the answer. Read it out loud. Grammar is auditory. In just a minute, I'll explain like the logical, technical reason why this is a run-on sentence. It's not a long explanation, it's very short. But The shortcut is to use your ears. Grammar is largely auditory. Every language has its own rhythm. And you don't get that rhythm if you're only reading silently using your eyes. Your eyes are far too fast. It's the reason why you're able to speed read, because the eyes just jump from key idea to key idea. They don't care about reading carefully, they just want the information. So you can blast through several hundred words per minute, and you completely ignore grammar. Your eyes are just jumping from like nouns to verbs, just grabbing the key ideas. When you read it out loud, first of all, you force yourself to slow down. And second, you force yourself to pause appropriately. Because you're not going to read like, maintaining the ecosystem's balance is the most important reason to protect animals. Each animal contributes. Ugh, you can't do that. Where you pause naturally, you need punctuation. A short pause, you probably need a comma. Long pause, you probably need a period. Let me ask Sylvia, or who wrote this one? Is the person here? Is the guilty party here? No, nobody wants to admit to it. Okay, no problem. Sylvia, can you read this one out loud at a comfortable pace?
Maintaining the ecosystem's balance is the most important reason to protect animals.
Good. And you pause there.
Each animal contributes to preserving the ecosystem's balance. However, humans have been using animals and destroying their habitats. As a result, several animal species have disappeared or extinct.
Okay. Every instance of punctuation, you paused. Right? Some pauses were longer, some pauses were shorter. This was a fairly long pause. That's going to give you a good idea of the fact that you need some kind of punctuation. Any kind of pause, you need punctuation. Now, how do you know if it's a comma or a period? Let me just fix this. Habitats, because it's plural, have disappeared. What goes in here? Several animal species have disappeared, or we need a verb.
Being?
Sorry?
Have disappeared or being extinct?
Become extinct. They have become extinct.
Why extinct here?
Extinct is an adjective.
Adjective.
Okay, so that's not our, disappeared is a verb, but extinct is an adjective. The dodo bird is extinct. Okay, back up to here. Super quick explanation. Can somebody tell me what a sentence is? So we use this word sentence a lot, but sentence, when we're talking about grammar, is a little bit too general because we've got simple, we've got compound, we've got complex sentences. So at the most basic level, what is a sentence?
Subject, verb, object.
Good. We've got subject, and very generally, I'm going to call it a predicate.
Yeah.
Predicate means the verb plus whatever's after the verb, and often that's an object, right? I love pizza. I is the subject, love pizza is the predicate. So this is called an independent clause. Clause means subject and predicate. Okay, in grammar, if you're talking to a bank, if you're buying a car, clause is a condition in a contract. But in grammar, clause means subject and predicate. If you have two of these independent clauses, you can't separate them with a comma. So let's have a look here. Where do we have an independent clause? Humans have been using animals and destroying their habitats. Is that a sentence on its own? This is just a very simple test. Can this be a sentence by itself?
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. As a result, several animal species have disappeared or become extinct. Can that be a sentence by itself?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So if you answered yes twice, then you can't separate them with a comma. You need a period, or one of these other three solutions that we talked about here. Okay. Independent clause, no comma between them. Okay, let's move on to the next issue. Let's see here. However, animals are part of the ecosystem, which needs to be addressed, and the solution to this problem is implementing rules and restrictions by the government through the awareness of the public. Sorry, this is not a run-on sentence issue. This is a misplaced modifier issue. Apologize. Okay. What is a modifier in grammar?
Which modifier?
Just the word modifier. It's a very general word in grammar. Do you know what it means? It's a very general word. So any kind of dependent clause, we can call a modifier. Any kind of phrase, like in the morning, after work, is a modifier. Adjectives, adverbs, they're all modifiers. A misplaced modifier, in this case, we're talking about a relative clause. So the rule, which I mentioned earlier, is that the relative clause needs to come right after the idea it's modifying. So here, which needs to be addressed, what does which represent? What needs to be addressed?
That animals are the part of ecosystem.
So what does that mean? Animals are part of the ecosystem which needs to be addressed.
The
I think the problem needs to be addressed.
Yeah. So which needs to be addressed does not refer to the ecosystem. Okay, we can't fix it because we don't have the rest of the context, so we don't know how to fix it. But that modifier can't be there. See how it's causing confusion? If
Can
the
we-
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, can we put this after the word problem in the second line? And the solution to this problem, which needs to be addressed, is implementing rules and between two commas.
Yeah, that would work. Just so you see Dina's solution, and I don't know if this is a good solution because we don't have the rest of the sentence. But she would put it here. Because then it refers to this problem, and at least it makes sense. The problem needs to be addressed. Does this one make sense? So the rule you need to remember is relative clauses, these things, need to go right after the idea they are related to. That's why it's called a relative clause. It's related to something. And relative clause is like an adjective. Normally adjectives go right before a noun. I have a big dog. Big is an adjective, describes the dog. But if we have a whole bunch of words that describe the noun, we can't put them in front of the noun. We got to put them in a relative clause afterwards. Okay, but it's got to come right after the noun it's describing. Okay, flip side of the run-on sentence is fragments. If you've got fragments, you're probably not getting band 7. All the issues that we're talking about today, these don't include any of the minor issues that come up all the time. These are the killers. These are the absolute killers that are going to destroy your grammar score. Although the advantages of nuclear technology greatly outweigh the drawbacks. This is a different topic, but can anyone explain to me why this is not a sentence? Sentence fragment, fragment means a part of something. Does anyone recognize this as their sentence? No.
First, the sentence, first the comma after although, it's wrong. We have to put it at the end of the sentence.
Yes, never. 99% of the time, you do not put a comma after although. Even though, don't put a comma after them. Why not?
Why not?
Mm-hmm. What part of speech is although, and what part of speech did this author confuse although with? There's a confusion about different types of sentences.
I don't know, but when we put although in the sentence and all this sentence now, it's like not complete idea. We had to put the second part.
Mm-hmm. So what does although begin? If you have something starting with although, what is that thing called?
I think that although is related to something that we've been talking previously. So it's like comparison.
Well, it's called a subordinate clause.
Subordinate, yeah.
Subordinate clauses includes words like because.
Because of, yeah.
Yeah.
However, while.
No.
No. Okay.
No. Which one did you say that's wrong?
However.
Yeah.
This conjunctive adverb. Yeah. I know them group as a group. Yeah. However, moreover, furthermore. Yeah.
So subordinate clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions. That's these guys.
Whereas.
Conjunctive adverbs begin sentences. However, moreover, furthermore, therefore.
Thus, in fact, as well. In addition.
If you use any of these conjunctive adverbs at the beginning of a sentence, it's always going to be the conjunctive adverb plus a comma. These, however, you put the rest of the clause in there, followed by a comma. So, because it was too hot today, we stayed indoors. Okay. You'll never put a comma after the subordinate clause. The comma goes here. You'll never put the comma at the end of the subordinate conjunction. Don't put the comma here. The comma goes here at the end of the clause. Always, always, always. So this is a grammar point. You have to know subordinate clauses and subordinate conjunctions so that you don't confuse them with conjunctive adverbs, because the grammar is quite different. Okay, and if you need to know where that is in the course, if you look in the grammar section, you'll find that in CS Complex Sentences 2.5. Yeah, okay. So conjunctive adverbs are here. And then if you need to review clauses, then you need to look at Complex Sentences section 2.1. And that goes over run-ons and fragments. And it'll talk about subordinate clauses as well, because subordinate clauses are the most common type of complex sentence. This one's also really important, and this section also includes information about semicolon sentences. It's a super easy way to add a variety of complex sentences to your repertoire. Sorry, go ahead.
Since I'm new, so I have not gone through all these things. So from where shall I get these?
Okay.
Like CS 2.5 or
I'll show you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Under all the units, all the language units, there's a whole grammar section at the bottom. You just keep scrolling down, you'll see a whole bunch of grammar spots, and I'll show you those in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and two more sections. Subject-verb agreement. You gotta watch out for stuff like this. This is also one of the killers. So there's 4 killers that will destroy your score. Subject-verb agreement, fragments, run-ons, and referencing. But referencing for IELTS belongs in the Coherence Cohesion category. Subject-verb agreement is grammar. Okay, however, there are clear benefits of protecting animals, and for that reason, implementing solutions to combat this problem are absolutely necessary. What's the problem with R?
Is the problem is
Why?
because a problem, one problem.
No, implementing.
This problem is a singular. These problems.
The subject is implementing.
Yes.
What is the full subject of the verb are? What's the full subject?
Implementing solutions to combat this problem.
Yeah, you've got a really big noun here, really big noun phrase. When you've got a really long noun phrase, this comes up all the time, you have to, you might see a plural word inside your noun phrase, but solutions is not the subject of are. It's implementing is the subject. You have to look at the first word in the noun phrase, the first word. It doesn't matter if the subsequent words are plural. Whether it's plural or singular is controlled by the beginning. So implementing solutions to combat this problem is absolutely necessary. according to a research report published by seethewild.org website in 2017. It's not the, because presumably they don't only have one research report. If they only ever wrote one research report, it would be the. But if it's one of many, then it's a. Okay, the number of sharks have declined by 99% in the last 30 years. So we've got this issue, have. What is the full subject of this verb? What have declined?
The number of sharks.
That's right. So it's not sharks have declined, it's the number. Okay, so this should be.
Where?
So can we remove have?
Has.
Yeah, you have to, but you have to put has.
Yeah.
Has.
The number has declined. Allah, does that one make sense?
Yes, yes.
So it doesn't matter if this one is plural. It's the number is singular. For example, the Ontario government has launched the Species at Risk Act in 2002 to improve the protection of the animals. Okay. What's the problem here? Why is?
I think when we use present perfect, no need to put in years like specific time. So if we put only the past time, we have to past tense without has.
Precisely. Thank you.
Mm.
Let's just say that again. If you include a specific past time, do not use present perfect. Present perfect is for experiences, so it's very common to hear, have you read this book? The answer is yes, I have read it. When I say yes, I have read it, do you know when I read that book?
No.
No, I haven't told you. That information is not contained in this sentence. What this sentence means is, I have the experience of reading this book at some point in the past. People say, have you ever studied French? Yes, I have studied French. Right, I have that experience. But then the follow-up question is, when did you read this book? I read it last year. So if I mention a specific past time, just use past simple. Specific past time, past simple. Okay, so this issue of singular versus plural depends on the first word in the full subject. In this rule, don't use present perfect if you've got a past time. Okay. Any questions about that?
What will be like the Ontario's government
Oh, just launched.
launched?
Present simple and past simple by far are the most common verb tenses. So you're going to be using those the most. It's just natural to do so. All right, one more issue. We already talked about this one. This is a much better example, actually, of this problem. Nuclear weapons make the world dangerous because they allow countries to threaten other countries. it could fall into the wrong hands, for example. What is it?
Nuclear.
Nuclear weapon.
Right, but the problem is this author used plural and it is singular. So this it doesn't match anything. Right? If you do this once, you've got a band 6 on coherence cohesion. So it's a serious issue, and it's a serious issue because it causes confusion for the reader. The reader doesn't know what the subject of your sentence refers to, which is obviously a big problem because you're writing for the benefit of the reader, not for yourself. So if you're confusing the reader, your communication is not really doing its job. All right.
Should we remove it, or we just write it like nuclear weapon instead
No.
of weapons?
No, you'd have to say they.
And delete it?
They could fall into the wrong hands.
Okay.
So your writing homework for today is to revise one of your last 2 writing assignments to improve it. Okay, either last Saturdays or last Tuesdays. Quite a few people still haven't revised them. This is where your learning happens. If you can't do this slowly, you cannot do it quickly. This is a high pressure exam. You've only got 40 minutes to write 250 to 300 words. It's like doing anything else. If you can't perform surgery slowly, right, you can't perform surgery quickly. Right, take your time at first. Do a good job, and your speed of doing this will naturally increase. It's no different from riding a bike, learning to drive a car, learning medical procedures. It's exactly the same. Do it precisely and slowly. The speed comes after. If you've got development issues, if your body paragraphs are vague or overly general, use this kind of information. I happened to find this piece of information. I posted it in the forum for this. This is really good. Just put this in your own words. Don't quote it. Just read it over, put it in your own words. This is amazing information for that particular essay. Okay. There's a whole bunch of other issues with the second essay, which was about nuclear power and nuclear weapons, but it's too much to get into for today. Fix both if you still haven't done so. Okay? And that's it for today. And I'll share this document with you in a few minutes, and the class recording will be available tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if you're new, okay, you're welcome. If you're new, stick around for a few minutes and I'll just create an account for you and I'll get you to do something different.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Have a
Yeah.
good night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.